Sarah Mitchell stared at the pile of bills on her kitchen table in her suburban Denver, Colorado home. At 45, the nurse who had always prided herself on financial stability now faced a brutal reality. Her husband's medical bills after his heart attack had consumed their savings, and the threat of bankruptcy loomed over the family like a dark cloud. Her two teenage children, Emma and Jake, sensed the tension in the air, but Sarah didn't know how to protect them from what was coming. Sarah's story is not unique in the United States. According to American Bankruptcy Institute data, approximately 66% of personal bankruptcy cases are related to medical expenses, affecting more than 530,000 American families annually. For middle-aged people, this scenario becomes even more devastating as it coincides with maximum family responsibilities and less time for financial recovery. When Sarah sought out bankruptcy specialist attorney James Patterson, she discovered crucial strategies to protect her family. Patterson explained the importance of transparent communication. Hiding the situation from children creates more anxiety than age-appropriate honesty. Sarah learned to separate essential assets into family trusts, protecting the family home through Colorado's homestead exemption, which protects up to $75,000 of the primary residence value. Michael Rodriguez, a 48-year-old engineer in Houston, Texas, never imagined he would be the one opening the door to court officers that Tuesday morning. His consulting company had gone bankrupt after losing their biggest client, and commercial debts now threatened his home, where he lived with his wife Carmen and their 3 daughters. "Dad, why were those men here?" asked Sophia, the youngest, only 8 years old. Michael felt the weight of family responsibility like never before. The warning signs were all there, but Michael ignored them for months. The Federal Reserve Bank of St. Louis documents that 40% of Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without resorting to loans. For Michael, the indicators were clear: making only minimum credit card payments, constant use of overdraft protection, delays in basic bills like electricity and water, and the growing need for loans to cover routine expenses. The American Psychological Association points out that 72% of Americans feel financially stressed at least once a month. Early identification of these signs saved the Rodriguez family. Michael sought guidance from the National Foundation for Credit Counseling and discovered financial diagnostic tools. He learned to calculate his debt-to-income ratio, which had exceeded the dangerous 50%, and implemented the 50-30-20 method: 50% of income for basic needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for savings and debt payments. The couple also created a family financial thermometer, where the older daughters helped monitor expenses through a simple app. After 6 months applying these early identification strategies, Michael managed to renegotiate 85% of his debts and avoid bankruptcy. His consulting company was restructured as a freelance operation, generating 60% of his previous income, but sufficient to keep the family stable. Carmen returned to the job market as a substitute teacher, contributing additional income. The most important result: all 3 daughters learned about financial responsibility and now actively participate in family planning, creating a culture of transparency that strengthened family bonds. Jennifer Thompson, a 44-year-old marketing manager in Atlanta, Georgia, broke down in the financial therapist's office when she discovered that her husband had hidden $80,000 in credit card debt and online gambling. With 2 children in high school dreaming of college, Jennifer faced not only marital betrayal, but the real prospect of family bankruptcy. "How am I going to explain to my children that we might not be able to pay for their college?" she asked through tears, holding the bank statements that revealed the extent of the financial disaster. Jennifer's situation reflects a silent epidemic in the United States. According to the Federal Trade Commission, approximately 14% of Americans hide significant debts from their spouses, and the Experian Consumer Credit Review indicates that average credit card debt reached $6,194 per person in 2023 for families with teenage children. This scenario is especially devastating as it coincides with the rising costs of higher education, which have increased 1,200% over the past 30 years, according to College Board data. The path to recovery began with brutal financial honesty. Jennifer and her husband participated in joint counseling sessions where they learned nonviolent communication techniques for discussing money. They implemented this participatory family budget method, where the children, already 16 and 18 years old, participated in discussions about financial priorities. The family adopted strategies such as debt consolidation through a home equity loan at 4.5% versus 22% on credit cards, and created a 5-year plan for total debt elimination. Meanwhile, Jennifer structured crucial legal protections. She legally separated some assets through a revocable living trust, protecting the children's education fund that had been built over years. The couple also utilized Georgia's exemption laws, which protect $21,500 in personal property and vehicles necessary for work. They also implemented an automatic alert system on all accounts, making future hidden expenses impossible. 18 months later, the Thompson family had reduced their debts by 65% and reestablished mutual trust. Jennifer discovered an additional income source offering digital marketing consulting, generating an extra $2,000 monthly. The children obtained partial scholarships and favorable student loan plans. Most importantly, the family developed their own financial code of ethics, with monthly planning meetings and complete transparency in spending. The eldest son, now in college, manages his own budget with the tools learned as a family, demonstrating that the crisis transformed into lasting financial education. Robert Chun, a 50-year-old accountant in San Francisco, California, had always been the financial guru among friends and family. Ironically, he was the one who made the most basic mistakes that brought his family to the brink of bankruptcy. After investing a lifetime savings in technology stocks during the 2021 boom, following hot tips from colleagues, Robert lost $300,000 in 8 months. His wife Linda, a university professor, and their 15-year-old twins, Amy and David, discovered the situation when Robert could no longer hide the investment account statements. Robert's experience perfectly illustrates how inadequate financial education affects even professionals in the field. The Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, revealed in its 2022 research that only 57% of Americans can correctly answer basic questions about compound interest, inflation, and investment diversification. For middle-aged professionals, the pressure to make up for lost time leads to impulsive decisions. 34% of investors between 45 to 54 years old admit to making investments based on unverified tips, according to the American Association of Individual Investors. The rebuilding process began with Robert admitting his limitations and seeking formal financial education. The family enrolled in a National Endowment for Financial Education program, where they learned the fundamentals that Robert had neglected: diversification, risk management, retirement planning, and children's education. Linda discovered her talent for investment analysis and assumed the role of family chief financial officer, implementing the 10% rule. Never invest more than 10% of assets in a single asset class or company. The Chun family adopted revolutionary practical methodologies. They created a family investment simulator where the twins practiced with virtual money before any real decisions. They implemented monthly financial meetings where each member presented research on different types of investments. Amy specialized in index funds, David in real estate, Linda in bonds, and Robert focused on tax planning. They also established a rigorous emergency fund of 12 months of expenses before any new investments. 3 years later, the Chun family had not only recovered 80% of their losses, but developed a diversified and sustainable portfolio. Amy and David, now in their senior year of high school, manage their own student investment portfolios and plan to take economics courses in college. Linda started a financial education blog that generates an additional $1,500 monthly income. Robert changed his professional approach, specializing in family financial counseling, transforming his negative experience into professional expertise. The most valuable lesson: real financial education is a continuous and collaborative process, not presumed individual knowledge. Maria Santos, a 46-year-old nurse in Phoenix, Arizona, faced a seemingly impossible equation after her divorce, supporting 3 young children, alone on a salary that barely covered basic expenses. When her ex-husband delayed child support for the 3rd consecutive time, Maria realized she urgently needed alternative income sources. "Mom, why can't we order pizza on Fridays anymore?" asked Miguel, her 10-year-old son, not knowing that his mother spent sleepless nights calculating how to pay the next bills. Maria's situation reflects a growing reality in the United States. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 23% of American families are headed by single mothers, and 28% of these families live below the poverty line. The Bureau of Labor Statistics indicates that 60% of Americans need additional income to cover basic expenses. And for single mothers, this need rises to 78%. The pressure is even greater considering that 44% of single-parent families have less than $1,000 in emergency savings. Maria discovered the concept of gig economy and income diversification through her local church as financial assistance program. She began offering home nursing services on weekends, generating an extra $800 monthly. Meanwhile, she used her culinary skills inherited from her Mexican grandmother to sell frozen tamales and enchiladas to neighbors and coworkers, adding $400 monthly. The most important step was when she discovered the Rover platform for pet care, an activity her children loved helping with, generating another $300 monthly. Maria's strategy went beyond simple extra income generation. She created a practical educational system for her children. Miguel learned basic math, helping with food sales. Sophia, 14, developed design skills creating digital flyers. And Carlos, 16, started his own small car washing business in the neighborhood, applying the entrepreneurial principles he observed in his mother. The family implemented the 3-jar technique, one for necessary expenses, another for family fun, and the third for emergencies. 2 years later, Maria had created a sustainable system of multiple income sources totaling $2,100 extra monthly, increasing her family income by 65%. More impressively, she transformed these activities into a formal business, Santa's Family Services, offering home care, Mexican catering, and pet care. Carlos managed to partially pay his own college tuition with his expanded car washing business. Sophia developed an interest in digital marketing through the family experience. The most valuable result: all 3 children learned that creativity, hard work, and family collaboration can overcome any financial difficulty, creating an entrepreneurial mindset that will accompany them throughout life. David Williams, a 52-year-old former insurance executive in Nashville, Tennessee, thought he had lost everything when his company went bankrupt in 2020. After 18 months of unemployment, with savings exhausted and facing foreclosure, David contemplated bankruptcy as his only way out. His wife Rachel, an occupational therapist, kept the family functioning on her reduced salary, while their twin sons prepared for their senior year of high school, dreaming of colleges that seemed increasingly unattainable. "Maybe I failed as a provider," David confessed to Rachel one sleepless night, looking at the bills piled on the table. David's financial recovery began with a radical change in perspective. According to Federal Reserve data, 40% of Americans laid off after age 50 remain unemployed for more than a year. But those who achieve professional reinvention often reach income higher than before. The AIP Employer Pledge Program documented that mature workers bring valuable experience, lower turnover, and greater loyalty. David discovered that his insurance experience, combined with the growth of the digital insurance market, created unexplored opportunities. The rebuilding strategy involved 3 fundamental pillars. First, David used the Tennessee Department of Labor's professional retraining program, learning digital marketing and online sales at no cost. Second, he applied the lean startup methodology to test his new business. He began offering insurance consulting via Zoom to small businesses, validating demand before investing significant resources. Third, the family implemented the controlled crisis budget, temporarily cutting expenses by 50%, but maintaining essential investments like high-speed internet and continuing education. Meanwhile, David developed multiple lines of financial defense. He renegotiated his mortgage through the HOP Home Affordable Refinance Program, reducing monthly payments by $400. Rachel expanded her private occupational therapy practice, offering online sessions to patients in other states. The couple created a separate opportunity fund, aggressively saving 30% of any extra income to take advantage of low-priced investments during economic recovery. The twins contributed by working part-time and applying college hacking techniques to reduce university costs through AP courses and community college. 4 years after hitting rock bottom, David not only avoided bankruptcy, but built an insurance consulting business that generates $180,000 annually, 40% higher than his previous executive salary. Rachel developed a virtual occupational therapy clinic serving patients in 5 different states. The twins graduated from university with minimal debt, applying financial strategies learned during the family crisis. The house was refinanced again, now with $150,000 in equity. The most transformative result: the Williams family developed a mindset of ACOS, financial anti-fragility, not just resisting crises, but using adversities as springboards for exponential growth. David now lectures on professional reinvention after 50, proving that financial sustainability can be built even from complete collapse.